Hello everybody, Coach Carroll here with SportsBanter38, and we're here to continue the college football preview. I will be doing the Pac-12 this time. Please excuse the mess. We are in the process of moving, so we've got boxes and stuff kind of stacked and strolled. But anyway, that's not going to detract from the content I have, and we'll be able to get uh, the Big 12 conference done today, and probably Big 10 tomorrow, if not later today. But without further ado, we're going to get started. Real quick, if I just like with the Pac-12, if I shared this with you on Facebook through Messenger, remember I'm just doing it because if I put it on my timeline, you won't be, nobody will see it because excuse me, because Facebook does not like to show any content or let you click on any link that'll take you away from Facebook. So for that reason, I am sending it through Messenger. So please like, share, subscribe, and I want to get some good discussions going on the conference, all the conferences in college football and later NFL. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, I've been using the Athlon magazine just somewhat as a guideline. My picks aren't exactly the same. Actually, my Pac-12 was quite different from Athlon. I'm known to go out on a limb a little bit. I don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. If I am wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, say things that people on SportsCenter or ESPN say just because I want to be right or what have you. I don't always agree. I hardly ever agree with those guys, if you want to be honest. A lot of times I feel like they're kind of talking to a script and they're basically going the same direction as everybody else. Well, I'm not going to do that. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Big 12. And the way I do this is I'll go through the bottom. I'll start from the bottom and I'll work my way up to the champion. And we will, then we'll talk about who's going to win the conference title. Of course, Big 12 recently adding the conference championship because they felt like they had been left out as far as the BCS bowls were concerned, and they wanted an opportunity to get into the playoffs. So now they have the Big 12 championship. But all right, starting at the bottom, we have both Texas Tech and Kansas. Which one is last? Which one's second to last? I'm not really sure. I mean, they both are down right now. Most people are picking Kansas, but that may not be the case. I mean, Baylor could be worse. Texas Tech could be worse than Kansas. Moving up, Baylor is right there as well. They're not going to be very good this year either. I know they got Jalen Hurd from Tennessee. Not that that's going to propel them anywhere. From what I'm hearing, he is playing wide receiver. I don't know how that was going to work, to be honest. I don't see him as a wide receiver. If anything, maybe tight end, but that's still a toss-up. But hey, he's made a position change. He had a bad exit from Tennessee, but I hope that it works out for him. Moving on, we're going to Kansas State, where we have Bill Snyder as the head coach. Everyone remembers Bill Snyder. So, it's just 1 second here. I'm not quite sure what all they have coming back, but okay, Bill Snyder's the head coach. Quarterback Alex Delton, running back Delvin Mormack, wide receiver Helton Rison. See, and I'm not really familiar with these guys. If you're someone who lives in Big 12 country and more about this conference and the players in it, by all means comment on this status. I do know the team has not been very good the last, few years or so. At one point, Bill Snyder had Kansas State thumping, and they were really good. But look for them to be in the bottom third of the conference this year, so, or the bottom half anyway. And moving up, we have Iowa State, who Iowa State has made a little bit of noise. I'm just going to glance over their schedule real quick. Oklahoma, Texas, West Virginia, Texas Tech, TCU. And looking at their schedule, they're going to lose to the regular candidates there, being probably Oklahoma, TCU, Oklahoma State. They could probably win 7 or 8 games, I guess. They're not going to make a whole lot of noise in the conference. They're about the middle of the pack, and that's about what we're going to get with Iowa State. Oklahoma State, they were pretty good last year, but this year, of course, their quarterback, the starting quarterback from last year, graduated. I don't recall his name right off the top of my head. He was a pretty good player, though. He had Oklahoma State looking pretty good, but they're not going to be the dominant team that they were last year. They're bringing in some new guys into some new positions. Justice Hill at running back, Keandre Woodty. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but he will be starting at quarterback from what it's showing. They've been a pass-happy team with Mike Gundy since Mike Gundy's been there. So I look for them to attempt to do the same thing. I'm not sure how this new quarterback's going to work out, if he's going to be able to, he should be able to run this offense, but he does not have the real game experience that's going to make him like a veteran quarterback would have. So, is looking at looking at their schedule, they should beat Missouri State, they should beat South Alabama. Boise State, you never know. I would favor Oklahoma State. I know they got better athletes. They should beat Texas Tech. They should beat Kansas. They should beat Iowa State and Kansas State. And let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7 games right there. They could potentially go into the Texas game at 7-0, and I'm a little up in the air about Texas. I might actually put Oklahoma State ahead of Texas. I'm not really sure. I'm not ready to put Texas up at the top of this conference, like in the 2 or 3 area or what have you. But you never know. Oh goodness, excuse me once again. Sorry about that, guys. Shoot. You know what? If Oklahoma State can come into this Texas game undefeated, they will have Texas at home. I believe they could carry that momentum to this game and win this game and be 8-0 going into Baylor, which pretty much by default will make them 9-0, I believe. Then they go into Oklahoma, where they go to Oklahoma. Now, that's a rivalry game. I believe Oklahoma has a better team, but once again, rivalry, that does not always matter. In this case, I do believe Oklahoma will beat them, which will put them at 9-1. I believe they'll have West Virginia coming in the next week. They'll be looking to rebound. I believe they will win that game, making them 10-1. Then they will be at TCU, which I do not believe they'll beat TCU, so they will be 10-2. So at 10-2, they'll actually be number 3 in this conference. I actually had them a little. I talked about Oklahoma State a little early, but let's go to West Virginia right now. West Virginia will be at the number 4 spot. Oklahoma State, remember, will be at the number 2 spot. So West Virginia, their first game is a neutral site against Tennessee. Now, I look for them to be 10, 14-point favorites in this game, if not more. We do not know what Tennessee's going to have. New coach, Jeremy Pruitt, and all those things. So, look, let's go ahead and mark them down as a win for that one. That may not be the case, but we'll see. I don't see them. Then they'll go, or Youngstown State will be coming to West Virginia the next week. They should win that game. They go to NC State. They should beat NC State. They should beat Kansas State. They should beat Texas Tech, Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor. Then they go to Texas. And honestly, that game depends on defense to me. I believe Texas has a little better is a little better on defense than West Virginia is. So I got Texas winning that one. Then they go to TCU. They'll lose that one. They'll lose to Oklahoma State, and they'll lose to Oklahoma. So that's 4 losses. They should do 1 win better than they did last year, from what I'm seeing. So that'll put them at the 4 spot in this conference. And at number 3, we will have Texas. Texas, they play Maryland. They're at a neutral site on the 1st. They should beat Maryland. They should beat Tulsa. They have USC at home. I've actually got USC beating them. I believe USC talent-wise is a little better than Texas right now. And Tom Herman is still building this team up. But I do believe Tom Herman will get this team turned around. And I believe he's going to have more of it. Of course, he will have more of his guys coming in this year, next year, the year after. But I believe it'll be sooner than that. Next year, I believe, will be a good push for Texas. I believe they're missing like that star quarterback, like your Colt McCoy or your Vince Young. And a program like Texas will be able to get a player like that. So just give Tom Herman another year or two, and he'll have this program really rolling. But right now, I got him at 3 in this conference. And hold on, 3? Is it 3? Or West Virginia's at 3? Okay, TCU will be 2. West Virginia, all right. Anyway, Texas. All right, I got them losing to USC. I got them losing to TCU. They'll beat Kansas State. The Oklahoma game is always a toss-up, but it's at a neutral site as usual. Well, it's normally at a neutral site, but it's in Texas. It's at the Cotton Bowl. That's usually where they play this game. But I don't believe they beat Oklahoma this year. I've got. They beat Baylor. They'll beat Oklahoma. No, I believe they lose to Oklahoma State. I believe they'll beat West Virginia. They'll lose to Texas Tech. They'll beat Iowa State and Kansas. So you're looking at about 8 or 9 wins there, give or take. But I believe that you got Texas. All right, Texas is at 4. West Virginia's at 3. I've already done their schedule. TCU is next in line, and we're going to go down their schedule. I believe they beat Southern. They beat SMU. They play Ohio State at a neutral site in Arlington, Texas, but it's in their home state, so still pretty much, at home for TCU. It's early in the season. Urban Meyer will still be on suspension. It's the 3rd game. I actually believe TCU will be able to pull this game off. Ohio State will still be figuring a few things out. They're, they got a new quarterback, and it's not Tate Martell, who I thought was eventually going to emerge at least right now anyway. But I believe TCU will beat Ohio State. I believe they'll beat Texas. They'll beat Iowa State. They'll beat Texas Tech. The Oklahoma game is the big one. They do get Oklahoma at home, so that's a tough one. I believe Oklahoma is the better team, and I believe Oklahoma will win that game. Then TCU goes to Kansas. They should beat Kansas. They should beat Kansas State. West Virginia is a tricky one. They're going to West Virginia, so that could be one that they may lose, but I'm favoring them in this game. I believe they'll beat Baylor, and I believe they'll beat Oklahoma State. Okay. Then, of course, the number one team in this conference will be Oklahoma. And, let's see. We're going to go to, real quick. Okay. Of course, with TCU, we all know Gary Patterson is, he's been a great coach. As a Tennessee fan and going through all these coaching changes, he's one of the guys that I have wanted to come to Tennessee, but he stayed at TCU where he's doing great, and TCU, like I said, they got a chance to have a big season, and we're looking 10, 11 wins, maybe more. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go to Oklahoma. Okay. Of course, Lincoln Riley took over for Bob Stoops, and, in his first year as head coach, he done wonderful. But, he had Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Now, this year, they're going to have a smaller quarterback again. He's very talented, very good athlete, extremely fast. He passes better than you would think. And I actually believe he could have a really big year for Oklahoma this year. And he's got a running back by the name of Rodney Anderson behind him. And this kid he's explosive. He's a big, explosive back. And this kid could have a big season. So with those two at tandem in the backfield, I believe Oklahoma is prone to have a really big year and have a shot at making the playoff. Of course, they start out with Florida Atlantic at home, which they should win this game, but Florida Atlantic, they're good. They're a pretty good team. So, if as long as they don't overlook them, they shouldn't have a problem with them. So Oklahoma wins that. UCLA comes to town, who is down at this time, so they should beat them. They should have no problem with Iowa State. Army, their vaunted veer attack, the military academies run that offense with such efficiency, so that is a tricky game. The difference, in my opinion, Army's defense will not be able to contain Kyler Murray and the Oklahoma Sooners offense near enough. So although their veer may do a little damage, it's not going to be enough. So Oklahoma will win that game. They will beat Baylor. Of course, they got Texas, which is the kind of game that's up or down, whatever. You never know. Then they're at TCU, which they could lose that game. They should beat Kansas State, Texas Tech. Oklahoma State's another game they could lose. They should beat Kansas. West Virginia can score points with them, so that would be an interesting game. And I don't want to say Oklahoma's going to be undefeated because I do not know that. But I can see them, and I don't even know which game to pick. I mean, all of those games are winnable, but there's 2 or 3 games there that they could drop, and it's hard to go undefeated. Teams just don't show up at their peak every single week. So I think they're going to lose one game. And, I know I said TCU would beat them, but I don't know if TCU is going to beat them or not. because I don't think TCU is going to go undefeated either. So all the games on TCU and Oklahoma's schedule are winnable. It's hard for me to pick one team to beat any of them. If I got to pick somebody to beat TCU, I would say it would be Ohio State more than likely, and Oklahoma on the 20th. And then, of course, you get Oklahoma and TCU in the Big 12 championship. But, you know, I picked TCU to beat Ohio State because I feel like Ohio State won't be quite clicking at that time, and they're breaking in a new quarterback. Urban Meyer will not be there. You know, I don't know how much that's going to affect the game or if it'll affect the game at all. But they're playing in Texas, so they got the home field advantage. So that will be interesting to keep an eye on. So Oklahoma and TCU in the Big 12 championship. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say TCU, after losing to Oklahoma in the regular season, will defeat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. I believe Gary Patterson, with his defenses at TCU, are always good defenses. They're the one team in the Big 12 that can actually play defense. And, you know, Oklahoma is usually the team that you can't stop. But I don't believe Kyler Murray is at the same level as Baker Mayfield. Next year, I think he's going to be very scary. This year, he's going to be really good. So he's going to go from really good to very scary. And I believe TCU will devise a game plan in the Big 12 championship to be able to combat Kyler Murray's speed and his athleticism, and they'll be able to take care of them guys, cover them going down the field and all that good stuff. But so we got TCU as your Big 12 champions, and that's going to do it for this video. Tomorrow I will be putting together the Big 10 conference, and I'll be shooting a video on the Big 10. So remember, if you get this video in Messenger, just please check it out. Like, share, comment. Let's get a good discussion going on the Big 12. And if you agree or disagree with my picks, you know, if you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. I want to hear what you think about them. And that is going to do it, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And SportsBanter38 and Coach Carroll is officially out.